Welcome back to the KJ Methods YouTube channel, where we are dedicating ourselves to helping 1,000 students get licensed by the end of 2025. You got to make sure to comment and let me know if these videos are helping you. All right, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And once again, don't forget to click the link below if you want us to send you that study guide that I developed that's going to help you know which are the most important topics and give you study and test taking skills. It's absolutely free. You just have to click the link below. All right, without further ado, let's get started. We are working on finance test part 1 today. Finance. Lots of people are confused by finance. So this is really good for us to do this 5-part series. So let's get started. Mary Lou took out a conventional loan from Bank of America 6 years ago. She wants to now move and allow her daughter to take over her loan. Will she be able to do this? A, as long as her daughter can qualify for the loan. B, as long as the documents don't contain an alienation clause. C, as long as the bank gives Mary Lou approval to transfer the loan. And D, as long as Mary Lou agrees to still be responsible for the debt. So what say you? This is a conventional loan. She wants her daughter to take over the loan. Is she going to be able to do it? Well, the best answer here would be B, as long as the documents don't contain an alienation clause. Why is that the most important thing? Because anytime there's a contract, and do you agree it's a contract with the bank? Let's first look at the contractual document. And what do these documents say? The documents say no transfers. If you remember, that's an alienation clause. An alienation clause says we do not want you to transfer. But if there is no alienation clause there, then you're going to be able to transfer. Now, you may be able to transfer under certain conditions. For example, if you remember, like FHA, no alienation clause. That means you can allow people to take your FHA loan over. And what is the second thing? As long as they're able to qualify. All right. So even though we talked about her qualifying A doesn't matter if they don't want her to take care of the loan or be able to transfer the loan. All right. So B is the most important answer here. 2. Yolanda decides to sell her property to her cousin, Sue, for $200,000. Their arrangement is that Sue will take the property subject to the existing mortgage with Wells Fargo as Yolanda travels the world. In this situation, if Sue doesn't make the monthly payment, A, she is liable to Wells Fargo for the entire debt. B, she is partially liable to Wells Fargo for the debt. And Yolanda is also partially responsible for the debt. C, only Yolanda is responsible to Wells Fargo for the debt. And D, Yolanda would be responsible, but only if Sue doesn't pay the debt. Again, this is tricky, right? But it's not tricky if you know what is happening. This says this is a subject to. And so a subject to, I want you to hear the word sub, like sublease, right? We use it there too, subject to. It means that the person is never going to be responsible for the debt. The only person that is going to continue to be responsible for the debt is Yolanda. This is not an assumption, right? She's not taking it over. She's taking it subject to. And if you remember, with subleases, it works the same way, right? We say the person taking it over is never responsible. So you see that word subject to, sublease, they work exactly the same way, and it means the person coming in is never responsible for the debt. Question number 3. For a lender to give a conventional loan to a borrower in a lien theory state, the borrower must sign A, a sales contract and hypothecation instrument, B, a mortgage and a promissory note, C, a deed of trust and a sales contract, D, a mortgage and a security deed. Okay, so this is making sure that you understand in a lien theory state what is required. And in a lien theory state, first of all, in any state, if you are going to give a loan, if the bank is going to give a loan to a borrower, the first thing you're looking for is a promissory note. Number one, it doesn't matter which state you're in. So that's going to be part of the answer. The promissory note is the promise to pay. But we also need another document that is going to be the security instrument, right? It is the pledge of the house. In case you default, then the bank can come and take the house. The promissory note, you can't take the house. It's just a promise to pay. You need something else to take the house. That's called the security instrument. And in a lien theory state, that security instrument is called a mortgage. And so B is the answer here, mortgage. Number 4, which of the following are true when financing is involved? A, the mortgagee signs the note promising to pay the debt. B, the beneficiary signs the trust deed. C, the promissory note is security for the debt. And D, the mortgagor is the borrower. Well, this is just terminology, right? You can't get all tripped up by your vocabulary. Who is the mortgagee and who is the mortgagor? If you remember, the mortgagor is the borrower. It's the only one that seems like it's flipped around. The mortgagee is the lender. So who's going to sign the note? Well, it would be D. The mortgagor is the borrower, and so they're the ones that are going to sign the promise to pay. Number 5, when the Federal Reserve raises the discount rate on loans, they raise the discount rate on loans, it is most likely that A, interest rates will go up, prices will go down, and the market will slow down. 2, if they raise the rates, interest rates will go down, prices will go up, and the market will speed up. C, interest rates will go up, prices will go up, and the market will speed up. And D, interest rates will go down, prices will go down, and the market will slow down. This seems confusing, right? What I like to tell my students, especially my students that don't feel like they really have a good handle on this stuff, think about shopping. Think about shopping when you go into Target, right? When you go into any store. If the interest rates are going to go up, all right, the interest rates are going to go up, then what is going to happen? So the cost, when the cost goes up for interest rates on the house, we're seeing that now. We have seen it for a while. If the interest rates are 7%, what are people going to say? I can't afford that house, right? And so what it does is, since they say they can't afford the house, the price of the house is going to go down, okay? And when interest rates go up, if people are like, I can't afford the house, then what's going to happen with the market? The market is going to slow down. Just think about you. When prices go up, what do you say? You're like, when interest rate is going to cost you more, you say, no, I'm not going to buy it now. So it's a little, of course, different with the housing market because it's also tied to interest rate, not just prices. But if the interest rate goes up, what are people saying? I can't afford that house. Because they're saying I can't afford that house, nobody's buying. So what are the sellers doing? They're like, man, we better lower our prices in order for people to buy. So the correct answer would be A. 6. What is the term used when a lender makes an extremely high interest, high fee loan to certain borrowers utilizing deceptive and fraudulent practices? This should already be popping into your mind. A. Usury laws. B. Predatory lending. C. Non-conforming loans. D. Deficiency loans. Well, these are, of course, predatory lending loans, all right? Really high interest rates. People who have bad credit and so forth, they just want to charge them anything, all right? 7. What is the main difference between a land contract and a purchase money mortgage? This is a really good question, all right? A lot of students don't know the difference between the two. A land contract is seller financing, but a purchase money mortgage is not. B, both are seller financing, but in a purchase money mortgage, title is transferred immediately. C, a purchase money mortgage is seller financing, but a land contract is not seller financing. And D, in a land contract, the seller holds equitable title, but in a purchase money mortgage, the buyer holds equitable title. Hopefully, you could quickly get rid of some answers, all right? Particularly D. In a land contract, the seller holds what kind of title? Legal title. So we know that D is wrong. So a land contract or a purchase money mortgage, they're both a form of seller financing, okay? And so if that's the case, we can get rid of A, we could get rid of C. Both are a form of seller financing, but the important thing is, in a purchase money, that title is transferred immediately from the seller to the buyer. But in a land contract, you remember, title is held by the seller all the way until the borrower pays it off. Once he pays it off, then we transfer the title. So during the time, the borrower has what we call equitable title, and the seller has legal title. 8. What is the greatest benefit of points to both the lender and the borrower? So why do we have points? A, it lowers the interest rate for the borrower. It increases the yield for the lender. B, it lowers the closing costs for the borrower. It increases the yield to the lender. C, it raises the closing costs for the borrower, but it decreases the yield to the lender. And D, it raises the interest rate for the borrower, but it decreases the yield to the lender. Well, what are points, guys? What are points? Lower interest rate for borrower. You guys know that, right? You're paying points so you can get a lower interest rate. So I like A so far. Well, what is the bank getting? The bank is getting more money from you at closing. So easily it is A. It increases the yield for the lender. B, it lowers the closing costs for the borrower? No, you're going to pay more at the closing when you get points. Look at C, it raises the closing costs for the borrower. That's true, but it says it decreases the yield for the lender. No, the lender gets more money at closing, so it increases the yield. And then D, it raises the interest rate for the borrower. No, we know it lowers the interest rate. 9, what is the definition of loan to value? Should be easy. Represents the ratio between the loan amount and the sales price of the property. It represents the ratio between the down payment, closing costs, and the sales price of the property. C, it represents the ratio between the loan amount and the appraisal amount of the property. And D, it represents the amount the bank will loan based upon the sales price or the appraised amount of the property. And so, of course, it is going to be D. It is the amount to the value. The amount to the value that the bank will loan you. And it's based on the sales price or the appraisal amount, whichever is lower. Number 10, what is the benefit of a buy down? What is the benefit of a buy down? A, the purchaser gets a higher interest rate. B, the purchaser pays more closing costs. C, the purchaser pays less closing costs. D, the purchaser gets a lower interest rate. Again, buy down is what? Points. That's what we're saying. Buy down. That's another way we say it. You're buying down the interest rate. And so what is the answer there? D. Easy. You get a lower interest rate. You do pay more on closing costs, and that's not a benefit, but you get a lower interest rate over the life of the loan. All right, that is it for Financing Test Review Part 1. How did you do on that one? There were some tricky questions in there. Please comment below and let me know. Finance seems to be one of the students' weaker topics. And so it's important. We're going to do 50 finance questions. So it is important. Let me know how you're doing on these. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And once again, if you want that free study guide, then please click the link below and we will make sure to get that out to you. All right, I'm KJ from the KJ Method. I will see you next time.